It's exciting to be one of the 3 points collectors from the previous weekend matches. This weekend, we have some really big matches coming up. We are looking at the game between Manchester City and Tottenham. We have Fulham versus Manchester United. We have Chelsea trying to get their first win of the season against West Ham. Then we have some other big matches coming up. We have Newcastle, Liverpool coming up on Monday night. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. Starting off with Arsenal versus Leeds United, both teams had 1-0 wins in their first game of the season, although not without some controversies. Some people claimed Bayern there was impeded for Arsenal to score against United, and then Leeds United had a controversial penalty awarded to them against Everton. But then, first week has come and gone. Moving on to the next weekend games, Arsenal versus Leeds United. Truly, Arsenal's attacking performance last week was, nothing to write home about. It was uninspiring, unexciting. But then that was a tough game away from home, going to Old Trafford, one of the toughest grounds for Arsenal. So we don't really use that to judge where the team is at presently. Leeds United, on the other hand, they've had a good start. They played well against Everton, although they couldn't score a lot of goals. They are a quite different team from what they were 2 years ago when they were relegated, when they were fighting relegation with Everton and Leicester City. Now, I think last season or so as well, they were in the championship playoffs to see if they can get into the Premier League, and they couldn't. I think they lost that to Southampton. But this season now, they are finally in the Premier League. They are raring to go, but then the match is at Emirates Stadium, not Elland Road, and Arsenal has a very good record against newly promoted sides. So my predictions for the game, I see Arsenal, winning the game. There are no fresh injuries. They have a complete team, apart from Jesus, who is suffering from a long-term injury, so he's trying to recover, and then Nogard with a slight knock or something. I think Mikel Arteta has his full squad available to him, but then the team is still lacking firepower. We need a prolific left winger, just like someone who will be like Saka on that wing. Martinelli and Trossard, they've really been trying, but then they are not really up to scratch when you look at them. What other teams have to offer. We need a left winger who can bring an X factor to the team. Someone like, the way Alexis Sanchez used to play on that wing. Someone who can take the game by the scruff of the neck and make an impact. So we must have to equally move on some fringe players like Fabio Vieira, Kanhine, Lokonga, many of them, and Reece Nelson needs to be moved on. We need to make some money and then sign that fabled left winger that will help us to move this team from finishing second, and then eventually winning the league. Looking at Leeds United, yes, they are finally back in the big times from losing championship finals. I think they won the championship last season. So they are back in the Premier League, back in the big times, and then they started with a win, but then they are going away to the Emirates, and I know it's going to be a tough game, but I expect a professional display from the Arsenal boys, and then they will want to, to get another 3 points while heading to the third game of the season at Anfield. I expect Arsenal to be more controlled in this game, to control more of the possession, to be explosive, to create more chances, and hopefully Victor Gyökeres will get his first goal. My predictions for that game, I see a 2-0 comfortable win for Arsenal. I think maybe Victor Gyökeres will probably score a goal, and then Bukayo Saka will score the second goal. So my predictions for that game is 2-0 to the Arsenal. Looking at the game between Manchester City and Tottenham, City and Tottenham, their matches are usually unpredictable. Their matches are usually goal first, filled with a lot of goals. I think their last 17 or so matches, in 14 of them, they scored 3 or more goals. It's always 2, 4, 1, 4. So they score a lot of goals. And Tottenham tend to be a tough team a bogey team for Manchester City. Taking their last 4 visits to Etihad, they've gotten points also. Then in their last 5 meetings, Manchester City has won 3 of those games. So it's not really a very predictable match. The only thing predictable about that game is that there will be goals. And then Tottenham, they have a new coach now. It's no longer Highline and Ishala. They have a very tactically astute coach in Thomas Frank, and we've seen how they've started the season like a house on fire. I'm expecting them to put up a really good performance away at Etihad come this weekend. Then, Manchester City, people have not really been paying attention to what they've been doing. They've signed some really quality players, Tijani Reinders, Ryan Checky. They've hit the ground running, Nicola Gonzalez, and the rest of them. And then it's looking like it's going to be a really good season for them. But that match against Tottenham might be a tough game for them. I think it's going to be a draw game, but that's not to say that, City may not win. City might actually edge it eventually. But then I am predicting a 2-2 draw in that game. City finished third last season. They secured the UCL, and Pep Guardiola will be eager, to start the season very well, and then to maintain a title push, while Tottenham will be trying to prove a point, because finishing 17th last season was really a disastrous performance. So this time around, both teams have points to prove. Manchester City are trying to prove a point that last season was a blip. The same for Tottenham. So seeing that game being the standard game for the weekend. And in terms of their team news, Tottenham have some players out injured. They have Madison, Dragusin, Kulusevski, Takai, and Udogi out. While Manchester City, I think Rodri, Kovacic, and Echeverri, who may be moving on to another club. So there are a few issues here and there in terms of personnel. Rodri is still trying to recover from that terrible ACL. But at the end of the day, I expect a cracker in that game. I expect probably a 2-2 draw, but it's going to be an exciting game. Newcastle versus Liverpool, and that is another big game of the weekend. I am seeing that match being a cracker. There are a lot of back subplots to the game. Yesterday, Isak released a statement. Then Newcastle followed up with their own statements. It's a season of statements, So it's going to be a raucous, noisy atmosphere at St. Vincent's Park. The fans will be trying to intimidate the players and get into their head as usual. So, but let's see how the game turns out. Talking about the team news, Newcastle United, they have almost a clean bill of health. Probably Hall, and then maybe Willock. The rest of the team should be available. Then for Liverpool, Gravenberch is back from suspension, so he should be featuring in that game, and hopefully that will help to improve their defense, because their defense has been quite shaky in their past 2 matches, conceding 4 goals in total and almost drawing their first game of this season. So it's not going to be an easy game for any of the team. Newcastle has had not such a good summer so far. All their preseason matches, I don't think they won anyone. They lost against Celtic. If I remember correctly, they lost against Arsenal, and then they lost 2-0 against Atletico Madrid, I think, in their last preseason match. And then their first game of the season, they drew as well. So they are not really in a very good form. Then in terms of transfer news, they've not really been able to land their first targets. They finally got Malik Tor, they got Tim Jacob Ramsey, Langa, and a few players here and there. But they lost out on Delap, they lost out on Wemo. They are probably going to lose out on Wisa as well. So I don't know if their project is not attractive, or they don't have a good sporting director that should be able to sell their projects to prospective players or what. But whatever it is, they need to tighten up. Yeah. In terms of predictions for the outcome of the game, Liverpool tends to know how to beat Newcastle. I think they've beaten them in their last 17 meetings in the league. Although last season Newcastle defeated Liverpool to win their first trophy, the EFL Cup, in 70 years. But apart from that, even when Liverpool are down to 10 men on it, they'll usually find a way to beat Newcastle. But let's see how it goes this time. Liverpool are looking a bit shaky. And given the subplots of Isak and all the whole issues, Newcastle and their fans will be pumped up for this game. I'm expecting a 2-2 draw in that one at St. James's Park. Then moving on to Fulham and Manchester United. Manchester United are still celebrating playing well against Arsenal despite losing the game. Anyway, let's get into the predictions. Fulham started their season with a 1-1 draw against Brighton. I watched that game. The two teams, they played okay. But then Man United tend to know how to beat Fulham, especially away from home. They've defeated Fulham, I think, in 8 straight matches, and it's usually some funny jammy goals each time. The last season it was 1-0 win, another jammy goal. So this time around, given how Manchester United has improved, at least going by their match against Arsenal last weekend, we are expecting another narrow win from them. Probably a 1-0, maybe 2-1 win against Fulham. Fulham on their own part, Marco Silva and his boys, they've not added much quality to that team. The team is looking a bit still, a bit predictable. So let's see how they are able to go and then see if they will be able to give us the shocker of the week. The boys from West London, Chelsea, and West Ham. West Ham, like I predicted last weekend, I predicted a loss for them. West Ham are in deep trouble. West Ham are looking still, they are looking lost for ideas. That whole team, in fact, the whole club needs rejuvenation. I think they need a new owner, new sporting director. They need to sign new players. And it's like they let go of so many big players the past window, including the Antonio. So, and they've not added too many quality players to the team. So it's looking to like they might be in a relegation battle this period. And then they are coming up against Chelsea, who are not able to win their first game. Chelsea will be doing everything possible to win that match. And then Chelsea tend to know how to beat West Ham. So although they are going away to London Stadium, away to West Ham, so, but they are likely going to win the game and hopefully Copa will finally turn up in a game. So it's looking like a straightforward match in the Friday kickoff between West Ham and Chelsea. I'm predicting a 2-0 win for Chelsea. And finally, to wrap up with Brentford versus Aston Villa, two teams that haven't started so well. Aston Villa starting with a draw, and then Brentford losing scandalously. I think they lost 3-0. Brentford are looking like surprise candidates for relegation this season. And it's not really too surprising the reasons behind that. They've lost Mbuemo and they may be losing Wissa. They lost their coach as well, Thomas Frank. The team is in disarray and they've not really been able to reinforce the team to improve the quality. Everything seems to be going left for them at the present. Brentford and West Ham are looking like they will be getting relegated this year. Anyway, it's just the first few weeks of the season, so no need going predicting who is going to be relegated and all that, but then it's not looking good for them. So as for their match against Aston Villa have a much better coach and a higher quality team. So all permutations suggest that Villa are going to win the game. It's going to probably be a 2-1 away win for Aston Villa. It's been nice talking with you guys, talking football. Please keep watching Boss Football, keep liking our videos, keep subscribing.